Hello and welcome to the last offline pre-recorded session in this tutorial. So far, we presented tasking framework from A to Z, and Olaf showed you how to use tasking framework in practice in the last session. In this session, we present two projects that use tasking framework. Also, we show ideas to improve tasking framework. We present as well the ongoing research and ideas for future research. In this session, we show you as well how to contribute to Tasking Framework. Tasking Framework has been used in many projects, as has been presented by Olaf earlier in this tutorial. Currently, we are using Tasking Framework in many more projects. I will present next an overview on SCOSA and REFEX, respectively. The Scalable Onboard Computing for Space Avionics project is motivated by the high computational demand in space systems. The radiation-hardened processors are reliable, but they are slow. However, we cannot simply replace them with commercial off-the-shelf high-performance node. SCOSA proposed a new computer architecture for space systems in which we use commercial off-the-shelf high-performance nodes in a reconfigurable distributed systems. So we have a number of high-performance nodes connected over a reliable network with radiation-hardened processors, or RCN, reliable computing node. In this architecture, the task with high computational demand will be mapped to the high-performance nodes. If one of these high-performance nodes fails, then the system will start a reconfiguration in which the tasks that were mapped to this node will be remapped to the other high-performance nodes. To design a reliable, reconfigurable distributed system, a middleware was designed in SCOSA with a reliable communication network and system management. Tasking framework was used in this middleware. Using the advantages of the channel task model, the reconfiguration can be almost straightforward. SCOSA team proposed new two elements, writer and reader. Because it is a distributed system, maybe some tasks of the application will be mapped to two different nodes. In this case, the writer and the reader will help to communicate over the network. Defining these two elements will help to simplify the reconfiguration, because if you need to map this application to two different nodes, then you need only to define a new writer in this unit and a reader here, and then you keep the application with no major changes. If, for instance, this node fails and you need to remap in the next configuration this task to unit 1, then you simply connect this channel with this input, and you will get the application running again. This version of tasking with these two elements, we call it distributed tasking. Currently, we are working on a project called SCOSA Flight Experiment. SCOSA is expected to fly in 2 years. Let me now also briefly tell you about REFEX, the Reusability Flight Experiment project. In this project, the goal is to design and test a reusable vehicle, where this part should fly and land again to be reused. In this project, Tasking Framework is also used in the software stack of REFEX. In this project, Tasking Framework has a new challenge, because the project or REFEX will use x86 multi-core board. Tasking framework will be continuously improved depending on the lesson learned in the projects. Besides this, we have some ideas to be included in the next versions of tasking framework. For instance, to use the C++11 threading model and to provide a platform for it. Also, to use the C++11 tuple class to have a better type safety in the task providers. Executor stealing, we would like to implement in the next version or versions of tasking framework. Also to implement more channel types. Currently, the channel works as a FIFO, so maybe we implement different types. Also, to help or to let the user to define more Boolean expressions to have or to express more complex activation conditions. In the third session in this tutorial, which was tasking framework from A to Z, we talked about the and or activation conditions, and also we talked about that's possible to mix the both. Maybe if we provided or implemented some more user-defined Boolean expressions, then that will help to express more complex activation conditions. We also have some research ideas. For instance, timing analysis. We aim to provide worst-case execution time and worst-case response time analysis for tasks developed using tasking framework. A multi-core support. In this topic, we want to study carefully the task model and the execution model of tasking framework to provide better or optimized partitioning algorithm for tasks in tasking framework. Also support for GPU tasks, a bare metal implementation of tasking framework without the operating system, a new scheduling policy, shortest laxity first, an alternative execution model for high workload. What is the development process we follow for tasking framework? We develop tasking framework internally using our own server, continuous integration system, and automated test. When we have a new version, we make a release and push it to the GitHub as to share it in public. All the issues reported on the GitHub will be considered then later to develop the next version, and thus then we'll have a new release and collect new issues. The reason is that we may have some tools or features that we cannot share them in public, so we keep them internally. And of course, it's not a good practice to have to develop two versions in parallel. So we keep the development internally and we release a new version when it's available. Remember that you are always welcome to report bugs, suggest bug fixes, suggest features. And in case you have a contribution, your contribution will be tested and evaluated. And of course, the name will be added to the contributor list and also in the related comment. Also, we are open and happy to discuss all the research ideas, and we are open for collaboration with all partners who are interested in this domain. You can send us your brilliant ideas. We will be very glad to listen and to discuss all these great ideas. So you don't need to use only GitHub to contact or to contribute on tasking framework. You can contact us directly by sending an email. You will have our emails on the agenda. I think it will be available. Also, it has been shown in the first session in this tutorial. Let me assume that we are lucky and you like tasking framework and you decide to use it in your project or in your next paper. Then how you cite tasking framework? In this case, we suggest that you cite our paper, which we published in OSPOR 2019. It is available online, and you can cite this paper referring to tasking framework. This is the last session in this tutorial, so I promise there will be no more reminders about the live Q&A session, but as this is the last session, this is the last reminder that there is a live Q&A session on Sunday where I will be very glad to answer all your questions. That's pretty much what we have about tasking framework for this tutorial. Thank you for your attention, and we hope that you enjoyed this tutorial and you learned something new. See you on Sunday.